It's the soundtrack of the Irish soul. An enchanting melody that evokes the stunning landscape of this Emerald Isle. The harp is Ireland's national symbol. You can find its likeness on everything, from Irish currency to an iconic brand of beer. Here in County Galway, on Ireland's western seaboard, Natalie Surina uses skill, patience, and an artistic eye to recreate traditional Irish harps.
I'm Natalie. I'm a harp maker from Galway.
The earliest Irish harp was made more than 7 centuries ago. Back then, Irish harps were played all over. But by the 18th century, they had fallen out of favour, and making them was a dying art.
I think there was so much knowledge which is forgotten, and there is so much experience which is forgotten.
Natalie fell in love with the classic harp while doing research for her PhD in Irish Studies. There was just one problem.
I couldn't afford it, basically. It was so expensive. So I thought I'd make a harp for myself.
Since then, she's dedicated her life to making her own harps. Copies of those that survived from centuries ago.
I like to replicate because it gives me an idea of how things were done back then.
It takes an entire year to make a harp, as Natalie slowly turns huge pieces of local Irish willow into an elegant instrument. First, she marks the outline for the 3 key pieces of the harp: the soundbox, the pillar, and the harmonic curve, or neck. It's the same basic blueprint harp makers relied on centuries ago.
Very little is known, actually, about these instruments, why things were done that way. So I tried to copy the way the old masters were doing it. This is all the joys of being a female woodworker.
After the pieces are cut, Natalie hollows out the soundbox, which amplifies the sound made by the strings. She will often spend several weeks getting it just right.
I'm just finishing the sides of the soundbox. So the idea is to make them completely flat. When I get to the fine bits, I start using hand tools quite a lot because there's more control.
The soundbox needs to be just the right thickness. Too thick, it produces a dull sound. Too thin, the wood will break. And then she'll have to start all over.
It's not kind of a science, you know, it's just trial and error. That's it. Can you hear it here? It's much louder and kind of brighter. This dull section, I need to kind of improve it.
Next, Natalie shapes the pillar. This is the spine of the harp, the piece that helps support it. In this case, she makes the pillar in the shape of the salmon of knowledge, a creature from a beloved Irish legend.
Here we have a head, and the lip, and the eyes. And because it's so smart, instead of the tail, it has the second head.
Carving the salmon into the harp's pillar is a nod to Irish history, and a practical matter too.
Everyone thinks it's a decorative part, but actually it has a function. It prevents the pillar from warping.
When all the pieces of the harp are made, Natalie fits them together.
No glue at all. You don't really need any because the joints are so tight. So it's like the magic of medieval engineering.
Natalie is down to the final steps. First, she adds designs into the wood, then paints and varnishes it. Last, Natalie adds the strings. Some larger harps have as many as 36 of them. She tunes each string to make sure it has the right amount of tension to help create the harp's lush, lyrical sound.
My favorite part is to play its first tune. So when you play the first tune, when the harp is in tune, and you can hear its voice, this is my, yeah, then you feel, yeah.
Every time Natalie finishes a new harp, she finds herself falling in love all over again.
You don't want to give it away. Usually it's for a customer, and you're like, no, I don't want to part with it. I want to play it.
Despite her roots as a historian, Natalie has found her true passion, making harps.
It's a labor of love. I love my job. So every time I come here, I just like, oh, I'm so lucky. A person who was going to spend all her life in academia suddenly started doing this and couldn't stop. 17 years later, I'm still at it.